Shalom. Apostle Talk coming back at you with this truth, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Rakakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this video, A Little Leaven Leaveneth the Whole Lump. You see here on the screen a fellow Israelite named Captain Uzziah, and he had did a video. It basically is a clapback video, because according to him, he said that they were still talking about him. You know, whether he's telling the truth, whether he's telling a lie, whether they're telling the truth, whether they're telling a lie. This individual right here that you see on the screen, this is a 2 hour and 20 minute, almost 21 minute video with pictures of documentation, receipts, comments that people made that he saved who came up against him concerning his business practices, but maybe a couple of months before that, they praised this man. So, you know, it's up to IUIC to come back and say that he lied on this, he lied on that, he made that up, this is not true. My take is, according to this video that I'm doing, my take is, let's say this man is lying about everything. And he's trying to destroy IUIC. Or let's say IUIC are the liars and trying to make this man look bad. Whatever the case may be, let's say all the things he said in over 2 hours of this video, let's say he's 99% lying or off or not true. Let's say 1% of any part of this video is true. You go throughout this whole video, you say this is a lie, that's BS, he's lying about that, he's being a demon. But let's say he says one thing that's right that condemns the IUIC. Well, that's leaven. That's leaven. So now I'm going to go into the scriptures. I'm not going to make this long. And I made this thing easy. I simply put in the word leaven in the blue letter, and a bunch of scriptures came up. And I'm not going to read all of them. The list is not that long, but I'm going to read a handful of them. I made this as easy as possible. Okay, it says here, I'm just going into the scriptures. So bottom line is this. The scriptures, Yahushua and even the Apostle Paul spoke about leaven. Actually, in Galatians, that's the title is based upon Galatians 5 verse 6, or 5 verse 9, excuse me. And also, if I can find it, bear with me for a minute. It's also in 1 Corinthians 5 verse 6. So 1 Corinthians 5 verse 6 says, your glory is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven, that means 1%. And if you work with leaven, I've worked with leaven. When you make dough, when you're going to make bread or pizza or whatever, you get in a package. It's called yeast, which is leaven. And leaven or yeast are living, how can I say, let's say entities. They're microscopic living beings, so you can understand. That's why when you make a dough, you use warm water and not hot water. If you use hot water, it kills the leaven, which are living beings, so you can understand. Microscopic beings, elements, whatever you want to call them. They're living. Too much, if the water's too hot, it kills the leaven. So what you do is you take flour and you take water. And you don't have to do measurements. All you can do is you feel it. You take some flour, you put some water, you knead it, you put a little bit more water. If you put too much water, you put more flour, and then you feel it in your hands. You know, you feel the dough, and it becomes a dough, and it's small. Oh, I'm sorry. Now in the water, you put the leaven, and you mix the leaven in with the dough and the water. It becomes a ball. You put it in a bowl. You put a wet towel over it. You can leave it outside. You can put it in the refrigerator. An hour later, that small handful of dough that you have with leaven in it is about the size of a baseball. And about an hour later, it becomes the size of a large grapefruit, or even bigger than a grapefruit. It becomes maybe 4 times its size. And then you foam it, and you can make pizza, or you can make bread. So now let's go on to the scriptures. Now that we got that out the way, let's go to the scriptures. Now the actual word for leaven is zuma. Zuma is leaven or yeast, metaphorically of inveterate mental and moral corruption, viewed in its tendency to infect others. So this leaven that the scriptures are talking about is the leaven of people's minds. You corrupt people. You corrupt people. Now, Yahweh Shai, when he was getting on the wicked scribes and Pharisees, he was going into leaven, and they would think they thinking he's talking about bread, and he tells them, I'm not talking about bread. I'm talking about corruption, which starts from one person to the next person, and it corrupts that group. Anyway, it says here in Matthew 16, verse 6, then Yahushua said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven, or the corruption, because that corruption starts with one man, goes to another man or a woman, then all of a sudden it's 1,000 people that are corrupted by this. It says the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now I'm going to jump down to the 11th verse, Matthew 16, verse 11. How is it that ye do not understand that I speak it not to you concerning bread? Because they were so stupid, these wicked scribes and Pharisees, that they were saying, who's making bread? It says that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Because going back to the lesson of making dough, when you use that packet of leaven or yeast, the leaven goes throughout that whole ball of dough, and it rises together. So there's leaven. Once the leaven rises in the bread, you can't take the leaven out. Can't take it out. You can throw it away. You know, you can't pull pieces of leaven out because it's a part of the dough. You know, it's like a cancer. Cancer grows. It says, Matthew 16, verse 12, then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Mark 8, verse 15, and he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod, because Herod was wicked. When one of the Herodians said to Paul, thou almost madest me a Christian, he was lying. He didn't want to be no Christian. Luke 12, verse 1. In the meantime, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trod one upon another, meaning they were big crowds, you know. He began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Now, when you look up the word hypocrisy, it means an act. That means you're acting. You don't, you know, a woman might want to get her way and she'll cry. She's really not crying. She's acting so she can get her way. It says here in 1 Corinthians 5, verse 6, this is Paul, your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? So a little 1% of wickedness can eventually corrupt 100% of the people. That's why it says in, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go to it. Second Corinthians 13. Verse 5, it says, examine yourselves. Examine yourself means put yourself on trial. Check yourself. Examine yourself whether ye be in the faith. People fall off of this truth, lose faith, and they think they're faithful, and they become worse and worse until they read Hebrews 3 verse 10 on down to the end. It's a couple of verses. And then read Hebrews 4, verse 1, and read a couple of verses. Actually, you can read Hebrews, the whole third chapter, and Hebrews, the whole fourth chapter. And it speaks about how why people fall off. It says, examine yourself whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, because you know who you are. You know whether you're committing wickedness or not. How that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. But I trust, 6th verse, that ye shall know that we are not reprobates. And you can continue to read. This is another good chapter. So he's saying that the Apostle Paul is saying you got to check yourself. And if you don't check yourself, you're going to wind up becoming a reprobate. And when you look up the word reprobate, it means a man void of judgment. That's why most of these people that leave the truth, they go right back into the world. What's the brother's name? Shah Malak, I believe. And when he left or got kicked out or whatever the case may be, he did a whole bunch of videos coming against GMS. And then eventually, one video he did where he didn't have tattoos all over his body. Maybe had one or two. Then he put tattoos all over his body and showed it off. He said, "This is for you, GMS." I remember that. And the first scripture that came to mind was this scripture right here, 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5. He was a reprobate, void of the law, void of judgment, of true judgment, because he knows that you're not supposed to put markings on your flesh. You got other people, well, it says don't put markings on your flesh for the dead. I'm not doing it for the dead. Yes, you are. You're doing it for yourself because you're dead in the spirit. Your faith is dead. Anyway, let's come back. It says 1 Corinthians 5, verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven. Now, this is before the Passover, because you got people that come to the Passover full of leaven. You know, when you get ready for the Passover, for those couple of weeks or even a month, you got to get rid of all that leaven that's in you. That's why I read 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5. You got to examine yourself. Oh, I went wrong on this. I did this wrong. I offended a brother. Let me go and apologize. Now, he might not accept. He might say, okay, yeah, I accept your apology. But deep down, he don't accept it. So guess what? The leaven is in him. That's how it works. It says, 1 Corinthians 5, verse 7, purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Yahushua, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. So the Passover is, what are you eating the Passover? Unleavened bread. It says, therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, wickedness, hypocrisy, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So what Paul is saying is that we all have a little leaven in us. That's why you have to examine yourself. That's why you have to check yourself. Or others should check you. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.